Today we're going to find out how a maxed out car in F1 25 My Team Career Mode feels like, and put it to our ultimate test. Can it do a lap of Austria in under 60 seconds in the hands of 95 rated icon driver Michael Schumacher? And we're also going to see what it's like to get your team up to fan rating 10 with phase 4 on every single department. First of all though, we need to start a new My Team save and max out this car. But first comes the team setup as you were... Bye then. That bodes well. Our team owner avatar just walked away from us. He clearly knows the levels of foolishness that are about to occur. Because we're going to choose our background. I'm going to go for the Chief Financial Officer. The description originally says your judicious accounting allows your team to earn more cash per week. Little do they know there's going to be way more than just some simple fancy accounting. We're actually going to completely cook the books. And you're never going to see levels of cash flowing through a team like ours. We're going to accept the extensive starting facility investment as well, just to speed up the process. But you're about to see just in a moment in this video, we probably didn't even need the little, starting help, because it is going to be a ridiculous rate of upgrading from us. Because this team is going to be known as Moneybags GP. We're going to be taking on the Ferrari engine, as it's the best engine on paper in Season 1. And we will be maxing out this car well before we even finish the first season. Yep, that's right. You heard me correctly. We're going to be choosing Michael Schumacher as one of our drivers, and then just one of the F2 drivers just to afford it at the moment. But don't you worry, there is a mountain of money about to come our way that we won't even know what to do with it. Because we're starting this save with $100 million. And don't be fooled, it says 1,000 R&D. It's in fact way more than that. It's just actually so much R&D points that the game actually couldn't compute it, and it glitched out a little bit and just got stuck on 1,000. But trust me, buying upgrades with Moneybags GP here in this save will not be an issue whatsoever. Neither will bringing facility upgrades. But let's get onto those R&D upgrades straight away. And you'll notice as soon as we purchase them, one, the R&D points don't go down, and two, they get researched and developed straight away. That is how we operate here at Moneybags GP. Don't ask how it happens. That's the first rule of, being witness to something like this. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the chaos, the madness, because it is going to be facility upgrades after facility upgrades. Day on day, we are bringing upgrades to this team financially on the HQ side, and then in tow, once we've got the various breakthrough upgrades where we unlock the further levels of aero, powertrain, chassis, even durability, we're going to be purchasing them straight away. But yeah, get used to this screen a lot of seeing the latest facility upgrade, because it happened a lot and we're not even at the first race yet. And there are just upgrades on upgrades on upgrades. God forbid, the admin of this team doing the bookkeeping every single day. Go, we did what? We upgraded what? And what? And this and that? There's no keeping track. We're already at phase 3. we're already at phase 3 of engineering. And we have not even turned the wheel. That is how ridiculous this operation is running at, the scale of it all. And by the time we get towards the Australian Grand Prix, we're only missing one tier of upgrades on every single department. The only caveat is it's only going to be for one car, but 49 remaining unequipped parts. It's like F1 Christmas. It really is. And then with one button, we equip them all. Oh, I love the smell of money in the morning when it's in my team career. Oh, lovely. 91 parts equipped to 30 for Hauger. Look, it's Michael Schumacher. Of course he's getting priority here. Don't be silly now. I mean, just flicking through all the assigned parts that Schumacher is about to enjoy going to his first race. it's going to be something to behold. I mean, this R&D chart confirms it. Hauger, unfortunately, does not have the upgrades yet because, in part, being able to do the upgrades instantaneously also glitched it out in terms of there was no dual development, but that's fine. For one race only, we'll actually get a nice direct comparison from the starter My Team car to near enough, like, let's say 80% maxed out, because we've got, like I said, one tier of breakthrough upgrades still to actually purchase in the facility improvements. So you're going to get like a 0 to 80% comparison of the My Team R&D potential here. And the best bit is, I wasn't lying, we've absolutely cooked the books, because this is our accounting in the finance. We've only spent, what's that, like, just under 30 million? Yeah, it seems a little fishy, and according to our accounts, we are 75 million in debt. That seems about right. That's, yeah, job well done from the accounting department of Moneybags GP. Sorry, sir, we can't have broken the cost cap. We've only spent 25 million, and we're 75 million in debt, actually, so we can probably borrow more against the team, even though it says outgoings of 102 million. Don't get it twisted. We only ever had like 20 million, and we're actually in debt. We're in crippling debt. If anything, we need more money and more cost cap limit, to be honest, from the FIA. I mean, how are we going to pay all this staff, you know? These guys, their families at home, we've got to pay them, okay? You've got to let us spend more money, if anything, to make sure everyone's paid properly. As we turn up to the first race then, and we get a first inkling of how good this car is. Michael Schumacher wins the race, obviously. He has lapped everyone up to P6. He's a minute ahead of the next car, which is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. We simulated this, so the AI, Dennis Hauger, in the base My Team car was 2 laps down. So an 80% upgraded My Team car is so fast, it's lapped the original My Team car twice over. Obviously, also with Schumacher's AI versus an F2 driver's AI. So it's a double whammy, really. So you're seeing we're setting ourselves up for the, you know, hopefully the biggest of success when we get to the Austrian Grand Prix, where we're trying that coveted 60-second lap experiment, which, if you don't know, by the way, why that's a thing, I actually don't even know as well. Basically, just, you know, many years ago now, from like F1, I think 2017 or as early as that, you know, I just fixated on this channel around doing Austria in 60 seconds. You used to get to like 1 minute 2 seconds in some of the career modes, like season 7 and 8 back on F1 2017 and 18. So it became like this thing in experiment videos where I would always fixate around, can a really quick car do Austria under 60 seconds in qualifying? And it's happened, I think, once in the history of these maxed out videos, I believe. This year, we'll see, because technically the cars have actually all gotten slower in the game to try and get them closer to real life, because usually in the game they're always much quicker than real life, but this year they've really tried to slow them down to try and be a bit more realistic in that department. But anyways, back to the task at hand. So following the Australian Grand Prix, what I had to do was actually, because we did the R&D so quickly, it really did break the game, basically. I had to repurchase every single R&D upgrade again, but now because I chose to drive as Hauger for that first race, it then applied the upgrades to Hauger's car. So then we could actually have both cars at the same performance. But yeah, definitely just broke the game a little bit with how that system worked, because it was instantly research and developing the part, basically. So I don't think the game mechanics knew what to do. At the same time, we were still basically purchasing as many facility upgrades as possible. And eventually, we actually purchased enough upgrades to get to phase 4, the final phase of the departments, and we did that for every department. Phase 4 of corporate unlocked. We then went on to personnel. Phase 4 unlocked. Each time we're getting that final zoom out, that final vista of our HQ and factory and offices, and we get phase 4 on engineering. I actually really love on this year's game, this zoom out, and kind of you get to see more and kind of gives you that effect of it's a bigger facility. We've got bigger buildings and things are really ramping up. And not just on the performance side, but also with the fans, because our fan rating is now up to 10, the highest level on the game. We are higher rated with the fans than Scuderia Ferrari, which is obviously massive because they're freaking Ferrari. So fan rating 10, maybe a rating that I'll never get to in my actual My Team series, honestly, because it seems like quite a lofty height. But here we are. That's what it looks like. Fan ratings. It doesn't really seem real when you look at it. And also, by the way, once we got to phase 4 on the facilities, that didn't stop the upgrades. There was still, to my surprise, so many upgrades to do inside of phase 4 for each of these facilities. Maybe corporate was the one we're getting closest to buying every single HQ upgrade possible, but there were still so many on engineering and personnel, and we're still well under the cost cap at this point financially. The accountants are working overtime, the marketers have worked overtime because no one is calling for our heads, no one is calling, calling for an investigation, how do we get all this money, etc. The fans are loving it. There's none of this chat about oil money coming into the team. It is all just fair game, and it's all on the up and up rate, basically. So at this time, also maybe good to put in some communications for a certain Ayrton Senna, maybe even Max Verstappen might want to drive for the team because he's coming second fiddle to us from now on. Michael Schumacher going into the second round of this alternate season with Moneybags GP wins it. This time, not as big of a margin, I must say. Only 43 seconds. Like, why isn't that at least over a minute, Michael? That's a little bit of a poor effort, but maybe that's also the Red Bull car upgrading a little bit, of course, because the AI teams can upgrade in this time, so maybe they've just brought some upgrades. Dennis Hauger got P4 as a very low-rated F2 driver. To get P4 with the simulation is pretty good, because we know in the F1 games, the simulations, they just hate when you simulate it. Like, the driver you're driving as, they hate when you simulate it. They'd rather you drive it, so they never do it very well. But to get P4 is pretty damn good. And here's confirmation then, both cars have all the upgrades now. This is the maxed out car. We have got 1,100 R&D performance points on the chart, and that is the ceiling for the My Team car. Whether that's the ceiling for every car on this grid, I don't know, because if we zoom in, you'll see the gap from us to Red Bull, it's actually not that large compared to previous years. Like, if you go back to F1 23, 22, 2021, when we did this video for those games, there was like more than a feels width. And what I'm talking about is from the top team, which has been Red Bull here, to the bottom team, Kick Sauber, the gap between those two teams, the bottom and top, usually the maxed out car, when we get it done within like a season, is over that fuel gap distance. So it's like 2 of that plus some extra. Whereas this is just marginally a fuel spread higher than Red Bull. So I actually think with all the mechanics changes of, you now have to develop the part, the R&D, you earn quite a lot of R&D in Season 1, and it seems like you actually have a lot more R&D than you can actually spend because there's the bottleneck of the facility purchases you need to do. I think they've tweaked the performance, like the points of the R&D of where you max out at or how many upgrades you get to maxed out. And I think they've tweaked it in a way where now they know it's a slower rate of development. I think the My Team car actually maxed out lower than it would have done in previous years. And I have a little hunch that maybe some of the AI teams actually max out higher than the My Team car for the first time. Maybe, let me guys know in the comments below, maybe we need to test that theory and go and max out some of these other AI teams in normal driver career mode and then come back and compare maybe, because that's my hunch. Because we're going to go into the Austrian Grand Prix And we're going to drive this Hauger to let AI Michael Schumacher at 110 AI, 95 rated, 97 focus. So as high as I could get it, we're going to see how he does over one lap around the Red Bull ring. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will notice on the bottom left, this is in practice 3 because I just got so unlucky. Of course I did. It's raining in qualifying in this race weekend, so it's nothing I can do. I can't change the weather in the My Team career, so our best thing was to do practice 3. Otherwise, I would have had to have basically gone through an entire season just to get back to Austria in season 2. But the whole point is to compare the My Team car to, you know, as low as possible the other AI teams, to really get that ridiculous difference of pace, to see that difference, you know, in the biggest contrast possible. We can still try and see how quick Schumacher goes on FP3, because FP3 is the time where you put in a little bit of a quali run just ahead of qualifying, although in-game here in this race weekend, it won't matter if it's a washout, rain affected qualifying later on Saturday. But let's see nonetheless what this is. Cross the line, it's a 101.361, so still a second and nearly 4/10 to find to get to 60 seconds. But I will admit, actually, I restarted this practice session numerous times, and this was actually the quickest run that Schumacher did in FP3. I guarantee you he could find at least half a second more in qualifying, a dry qualifying, because the track will get quicker, because you know, compared to FP3, because more rubber gets put down. But I also think that on this year's game, because the cars have been made slower, and now also coupled with the fact that I do believe the My Team car maxes out a bit lower relative to the other teams as it used to, I don't think we're near a 60-second maxed out car. And we're going to see now how it actually feels to drive as we step into the cockpit for a quick 5-lap race in this maxed out car. The other one from last place. We're underway for the Austrian GP. Off the bat, it's a really good getaway, but you can do that at the moment on F125 anyways, even with a lower performing car. They're actually patching that very, very soon as I record and upload this. But immediately, it was very apparent how much more power this car had. The torque was spiking so much, I felt like. You could hear it a bit audibly as well, but on the feeling of my right foot on my pedals, it was just apparent there was so much oomph behind the throttle pedal. And then when you put on battery, we were just smoking these guys in a straight line. And remember, this is 110 AI, and we know the AI at 110, especially on this game, are really overpowered in some of these lower speed corners where they accelerate out so much faster. They're technically a little bit lighter than the My Team car, but because we've got a maxed out car now, that's alleviated, and we're actually now flying through some of them on the corner exits, especially because you also got that downforce to help you get the power down. And then into some of these higher speed corners, like the last two here in Austria, it was really apparent how much downforce we had. In a way, I think other circuits might be able to be, you know, show the maxed out car in an even better light. Austria is a really good yardstick, I feel, because you've got a mix of corners, and also you get near to 60 seconds, of course, for a little bit of a nice headline. But maybe other tracks where it's more high speed, you can show off the downforce even more. But under braking also, by the way, ridiculous. That dive bomb on doing, crazy. And like I said, remember, it's 110 AI. Going from that far back on an AI of the Alpine as well, not too bad. He was doing all right doing P11. It was ridiculous. And Schumacher right now trying to streak away from Max Verstappen, although I will comment, he's not that far ahead of Verstappen. I know Red Bull have probably upgraded a bit at this point in this career mode, but I think looking at Schumacher and how he's doing, and you're about to see how I do for the rest of the race, I think it's the biggest indicator that although the brakes do feel ridiculous, the acceleration feels really great, the oomph, the torque delivery is there. It's also just a little bit nervous, this car, and it's hard to really put it to words, but I was pushing really hard, and there was moments where I was expecting a bit more advantage versus the AI ahead of me, and sometimes I wasn't getting that. And ultimately, even though there are hints of how good this car is and how much quicker it is, I actually don't think it stacks up compared to other maxed out cars in previous F1 games. It is definitely one of the lowest performing maxed out cars we've seen in the F1 game, in my opinion, from just this one race, little bit of a feel over 5 laps, looking at how Schumacher's AI is doing. 95 rated Schumacher. Like here, I really thought I would have been sweeping past Norris at this point already, like on the outside of that left-hander. But the dirty air on this year's game, in a good way, is so much more apparent and realistic that even a maxed out car, I was having to struggle behind Lando to overtake him until a DRS point, because it was just tough. The dirty air was actually making a sizable difference. Obviously, this car now has more downforce than any of these other cars around me, so it feels the dirty air more when the air goes off. Yes, there's drag reduction upgrades, but relative to everything balanced out, I was feeling, you know, that pain in the traffic just as any other car would, and it was nervous, as you can see there. Under braking, the brakes were like milk bottle tops. Like the pressure, brake pressure was so high because of the upgrades, etc., that it was very, very tough at times to slam on the brakes and do a bit of trail braking and get it stopped down. And by the end of the race, Schumacher finishes obviously in P1, but Verstappen's right there. I know it's only 5 laps. Over the course of a 50% race, it would streak out more. All the tyre upgrades would make a massive difference. I think on this year's game, with how high the tyre wear is in Season 1 especially, and just generally on this game, with more 2 stops and even some 3 stops maybe for AI, I think the maxed out car would gain more time just because of its tyre wear advantage. So that's the only thing missing from this experiment in terms of that side of things. But going back to my earlier convo with where the car is maxing out and how close Red Bull were keeping up with this in terms of there wasn't that massive gap on the R&D chart. Yeah, I think this year, it may not be, you know, if you were to get to a maxed out car with your My Team, it might be a lot harder still to, it might be harder to feel like you're dominating, because I think the AI will be a lot more competitive and a lot nearer to you than they maybe were in previous F1 games, coupling in with just it being a lot harder to actually get through to phase, you know, even 2, 3, and then let alone 4 on the department side of things to actually purchase the upgrades. I think there's a very new, interesting dynamic when it comes to the R&D and the maxed out car in later seasons on this game. But for those of you who may not ever play the game enough to get to that point, hopefully this video was interesting enough to see that play out with Phase 4, Fan Rating 10, and the maxed out car. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.